We will issue, it's a groundbreaking report, a novel report, one which has never been issued before in our history. So it deals with who has complied in terms of submitting audited financial statements and what the auditor's opinion is. So it will give a reflection of the health status of party finances and the level of compliance to the Act. It will also give us a glimpse of the total donations advanced to political parties in that financial year, 2021 to March 2022. So in a sense, the report pushes us, nudges us slightly further in terms of transparency in the party funding space. The represented parties, there's a high level of compliance. And with respect to those parties who bear no representation in the National Assembly nor provincial legislatures, the level of compliance is quite low. Quite understandably, though, because some of them are parties that are registered but are not active, as it were, because they don't receive funding from the state and are struggling, in fact, to make ends meet. So I think it's an area where we have to intervene by way of a statutory amendment to lessen the burden, as it were, on those that don't receive state funding. Look, I think it goes back to the purpose of the Act. The purpose of the Act, in my opinion, is twofold. One, to open the transparency within party funding space. I think that is important so that voters are empowered in terms of who donates to their own parties and make an informed decision whether they want to continue voting for a particular party. That's the first issue. The second issue is to protect our own democracy from corporate influences as well as foreign influences. So the nature of the amendments that must be made, it's a matter that the portfolio committee is already, the portfolio committee in the National Assembly is already seized with, and we hope that there will be greater speed in dealing with the amendments around party funding, so as to ameliorate the burden on these unrepresented parties who still have a same level of accountability with parties that receive funding. The current threshold is 100,000 rands. Okay. Anything that a party receives by way of donation above 100,000 rands has to be disclosed to us, and we publish that on a quarterly basis. There are arguments both ways. That's why the National Assembly, being a representative body of all South Africans, must make a policy determination to say, is 100,000 an optimum point at which people must disclose? Should it be bigger? Should it be lower? Because there's a sentiment as well that says, take it down a bit. And we've got to debate that in the National Assembly eventually, and for decisions to be made. We've been engaging with corporates, both at the organized level as well as at the bilateral level, to seek ways to ensure that corporates contribute to the Multi-Party Democracy Fund, and by so doing support our own democracy. But the response a bit lackadaisical in many ways. I think we've got to build a national consciousness around corporates and even individuals. There are some individuals who've been making contributions to the Multi-Party Democracy Fund, and I think that is something that we've got to encourage, because the responsibility does not only go to corporates, it must extend as well to individuals who have the means to make our democracy work. Yeah. Because by contributing to the Multi-Party Democracy Fund, you're not making a contribution to one party, but you are making a contribution to all parties who have representation. So you are giving everybody a fair opportunity to be successful in the political space. Parliament must be seized with the statutory amendments to ensure that there's a framework that allocates funding to those independent candidates who will be representatives in the National Assembly and in provincial legislatures. I think they do have time between now and possibly the end of the year to pass that legislation. and ensure that there's certainty in the funding arrangements that independents must be aware of. Those that are aggrieved by the amendment are threatening to go to court, and they will go to court, I suppose, at some point to vindicate their rights. We will explain to the court what I'm outlining here, that any changes of a structural nature that may be introduced is going to have an impact on the readiness and the preparedness of the IEC to deliver an election, and that is likely to have an impact on the quality of an election, and even whether certain things may be possible at all. I think we'll be very upfront with the court in respect of those elements. And that is not to say we are making a decision whether this system is preferred above the other. That's not where the IEC is. The IEC is raising practical questions about its ability to deliver an election within the constitutional time frame. That's really our preoccupation.